y'all. Joy and peace, yes, it is mine. Oh, love, 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 it is mine. Yeah, love, 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 it is mine. If it serves my highest good, it is mine. If it serves my highest good, it is mine. If it serves my highest good, it is mine.
Yeah. And that's the truth. Good morning, everybody. Happy Sunday to you. We've been working with a series of lessons, and the last couple of weeks we've been talking about the power of words. And then last week we talked about two of the most powerful words, and the two most powerful words are I am. You guys actually listened. Wow, that's great. I am. And when you attach something to that word, those two words, I am, you are absolutely identifying yourself with something. And you want to make sure that what you're identifying with is the truth of who you are. It's the truth of what you are. It is your divine nature. And so this week we're going to talk about how we can actually, unity in the heart of Austin is really a part of the Unity Worldwide movement. And Unity Worldwide movement is a path for spiritual development. It is a positive path for spiritual living. And so we're pretty positive people, aren't we? We like to stay positive. We think there's a real value in that, isn't there? It's important, I think, to keep a positive mental attitude and a positive focus and to keep yourself focused in that way. But it's not an always easy thing to do, is it? It's sometimes challenging. And that's why we're here, in all honesty. If we were here because we could be positive all the time, it was easy to do, nobody would be here anyway, right? Yeah. So we're here because we want to get reminded of how we can move back into that space when we find ourselves not in that space. But unity is a very positive approach to spiritual living. And one of the things that we learn in unity is it's important that our words be expressing positive desire and positive intent. There was a story that I love that I heard many years ago in Unity, and it was about a Baptist minister, a Methodist minister, and a Unity minister. And they all three died, and they went to hell. Yeah. And the Baptist minister said, "Oh man, I know why I'm here. I know I'm here." It's dancing. I couldn't stop dancing. And the Methodist minister said, "Well, yeah, I know why I'm here. I know why I'm here, man. I know why I'm here. It was the drink. I just couldn't stay away from the drink, And the third Unity minister said, "This isn't hell, and I'm not hot." Yeah. And what the Unity minister in that particular story was trying to do was use what we've been taught in Unity over the years, is to use the power of denial. And believe it or not, denial is not a river in Egypt. Yes, it is, but it's not what we're talking about. Denial is a term that was used back in the earlier stages and days of unity that was a way of taking energy and power away from a statement or an idea or a belief system that is not true or that we no longer want to hold in our awareness or in our consciousness. Now, there's a lot of confusion about that because in the recovery program, denial is not a good thing. When you find yourself in denial, that means that you're not really dealing with what needs to be dealt with, right? So we're not talking about that kind of denial. And so more recently, we've not been using the term denial as much as we've been using the term release statements. And so it's important for us to learn and practice changing our thoughts and our words by using statements of release when we are saying things that are not in harmony with the truth of who and what we are, or the truth of being in life. And so, the Unity minister in this situation was not using denial in a way that actually was effective. Because the reality is, when you find yourself, Winston Churchill says, when you find yourself going through hell, keep going. So you're going to find yourself at times experiencing what you consider to be hell, right? And so if you just simply say, well, this isn't hell and I'm not hot, that doesn't necessarily change things. But if you are able to shift your thinking and your words in such a way to say that this too shall pass, that's an effective use of the power and the energy of denial. It's a knowing that it's not a permanent state. It's knowing that it's not the truth or the whole being or the whole way of being, that there's a way of releasing the thoughts and ideas and beliefs that are actually a part of what's in the process of creating the experience of hell in the first place. In Matthew chapter 12, verse 43 through 45, Jesus said, "When the unclean spirit is gone out of a man, he walketh through dry places, seeking rest, and findeth none. Then he saith, I will return into my house from whence I came out. And when he is come, he findeth that it's empty and swept and garnished." Don't you love the Old English language of King James? "Then goeth he and taketh with himself 7 other spirits, more wicked than himself. And they enter into and dwell there, and the last state of the man is worse than the first. And even so shall it be also unto this wicked generation." I believe that Jesus is really talking about the very act of what we call release and affirm. And one of the things that he's talking about is that we can go through experiences where we try to let go of a negative way of thinking, but if we don't take the opportunity then to replace it with something, guess what? Not only will that negative way of thinking come back to us from our subconscious mind, but it will also be even stronger sometimes because we are resisting something that is already in our subconscious mind. And one of the things that we talk about in unity is an understanding that whatever you resist persists. It's true, isn't it? Nod your head, otherwise it... No, I'm just kidding. You don't want that to persist, right? So Charles Fillmore says, denial is putting away the mental error and entering into conscious relaxation of both my mind and my body. And so it's actually putting away those thoughts and ideas and belief systems that are not serving to bring about a greater knowing and experience of the health and the wholeness, of the abundance and prosperity, of the truth of who and what we are. Now, I remember a lesson I remember giving actually when I was in ministerial school about this whole subject. And I remember one of the examples that came to me is that one of the ways to understand the importance and the value of having a clear awareness about what release statements are, what denial truly is, if you are walking along a railroad track and a train is coming down the track, it's important not to just stand there on the track and say, there is no train, there is no train, there is no train, there is no train. Right? That's not a healthy use of the faculty of release. That's not a healthy use of denial. We sometimes do that, though. We sometimes find ourselves trying to deny circumstances. And the power and the use of denial is not to deny circumstances, because really, when you try to deny circumstances, it's kind of like you're trying to change the course of the Titanic with a butterfly wings. It just is not going to have that kind of effect. So you're not changing what is, because what is already is. Yeah. It already is. What you are experiencing, what the circumstances are already there. And they have been created and formed and shaped and brought into your experiences through the heart and mind that you had 5 minutes ago, or yesterday, or last week, or last lifetime. And so you cannot, it's not about changing what is. In reality, when you try to change what is by denying it, you're like standing on that track and saying there is no train, there is no train. Now, if you're standing on the track and the train is coming down the track, a powerful and healthy way of working with the release idea, the statements of releasing and letting go, or denial, as we call it in Unity, is to say that this train has no power over me because I have the ability to step off the track. And I'm choosing, and this is the second part of the affirmation, I choose to step off the track. I choose to go in a different direction. I choose safety. I choose another path. That's a powerful way of working with the idea of release or denial and affirmation. Affirmations are really very powerful. In Unity, we've been trained over the years to really think positively, to say positive words, to really hold the image of something positive in our life, and that's an important task. But one of the things that Charles Fillmore taught is that if we don't first also clean away those things that are in the way of that, then what we're really doing is kind of trying to put a layer on, how should I put it? Putting a layer of cake icing on top of a pile of manure, to put it very bluntly. And so if we're not willing to take the time to look at and see what's going on, now manure is not a bad thing. My gosh, we wouldn't be eating right now if we didn't have a lot of manure in this world. It's true, isn't it? And so there's going to be manure in life, and it's not going to look good, and it's not going to feel good, and it's not going to smell good, and it's not going to, but just putting a layer of icing over the top of it is not going to make it, well, it might temporarily make it a little better, but I don't know that I'm going to put it on my dinner plate. I don't, maybe you want to, I don't know. Probably not. And so it's important for us to acknowledge that there is manure in our thinking sometimes. Now, manure can be very good in some ways because it can be fertilizing. It can bring about something even better. It can bring about new life. It can bring about change. It can actually feed a greater possibility. The name of my talk is Pulling Weeds and Planting Flowers. Manure can feed a lot of weeds, can it? Or it can feed flowers. And when we think about our thoughts and our thinking and our patterns of thinking, and we find ourselves going down a path where it's mostly weeds, and weeds are basically those thoughts and patterns in our thinking that are really not useful, that are not serving us. They're not bringing greater beauty into our experience. They're not bringing greater life into our environment. They're not really decorating our beautiful stage up here in the way that we want them to. When I was in Mississippi, I remember some of the folks in the Unity Church there said, I'm a Mississippi weed. A weed is a plant whose purpose has not yet been discovered. Now, that's a positive use of weeds. Now, weeds are, some of those weeds wind up being very valuable at times. And medicines have been come out of things that at one time were considered weeds. But that's because someone took the time to nurture something that seemed like a weed and bring out something more from it. So sometimes when we're working with our thoughts and our thinking, it's not a matter of trying to push them away so much as it is a matter of trying to hear what it is that they're trying to say to us. And what's the message that they're trying to give us? And so when we find ourselves working through a particular situation or circumstance in life, and it's, your thoughts about it are limiting or negative or seeing an experience of lack or illness or dis-ease in some way, if you're experiencing some of that in your life, it's not necessarily always helpful just to say there is no lack, there is no lack. Sometimes you want to look at that way of thinking and ask yourself the question, what is this fear that's underneath that? What's this trying to show me? And see if you can listen for whatever that message is. I do a lot of work with emotional freedom technique, and how many of you here have done some tapping with me? I know many of you have. It's a great way of working with the whole release and affirm experience. And it really works not only with our words and our thinking, but it works somatically with our body as well. And it's working with the subconscious level of mind, because most of the creative experiences that we have in life are really coming from an unconscious level. And so what our transformation experience is tuning into whatever is going on, not only in our conscious way of thinking, but also in our unconscious way of thinking, and being willing to shift those things that come up from within our subconscious mind that are not really enhancing the power and the beauty of who and what we've come here to be. Julie was reminding me this week about transformation, and transformation really is about moving from being a caterpillar, going through the process of going into a cocoon, and then becoming a butterfly. And the transformation, it's not just simply change, because change just means your caterpillar is moving from one place to another place, right? But transformation is bringing a whole new possibility and a whole new state of being and a whole new way of expressing a greater experience of who and what you've come here to be. And by changing our mind, Paul said, be transformed by the renewing of your mind. And that's what we're being called to do, to be transformed into that experience of something even greater than we are expressing even right now. And one of the tools that we have available to us are the thoughts that we hold, the words that we speak. And those change our conscious mind, but they also begin to reshape and reform what goes on in our subconscious level of mind. Because we have this habitual, what you might call, inner self-talk. Are you hearing that right now? Just notice if you've got little thoughts and words, maybe things like, why is he asking me that? You know, it's amazing how this little inner self-talk goes on, and we're not conscious of it most of the time. But oftentimes when we find ourselves in situations and circumstances that we find uncomfortable or not, that we feel like are not what we want in life, the inner self-talk sometimes can get really loud, but sometimes it's just under the surface, and it's saying all kinds of things that are actually enhancing and keeping the circumstance the way it is, or even making it more intense. And so part of our work is to notice that little inner self-talk, the belief systems and the attitudes that come from that, and asking the simple question, is this what I want to experience in the next minute? Do I want to experience more of this in the next minute? And if I'm simply saying, well, this is the way it is, you start by saying, well, this is what is, but is this what I want from the next minute? And if it's not what you want from the next minute, then you want to shift and change your thoughts and your thinking and the words that are going on in your subconscious mind. And sometimes you need to do that repetitively. Because I tell you, the monkey mind just constantly is like the same thing over and over again. You know what I'm talking about, don't you? We get this monkey mind going, and it's talking about and it's looking at all the stuff, all the manure, all the things that we don't like, all the things we don't want. And the more you put your attention and energy on that which you don't want, the more you attract to you that same kind of energy and the same kind of experience. So if there's something that you want to experience more of in your life, you want to take the time to work with your thoughts and your words and really express the truth of what you truly want. And when you catch yourself saying something even in resistance to that, so for example, let's say you're looking at your checkbook or your checking account, let's put it that way. Looking at your checkbook, your check ledger perhaps. Do people do that these days? I don't know. Yeah. Oh, okay.
If one writes checks, one must put them in the ledger.
That's probably a good plan. Yeah. I do mine online and it does it automatically. So I still I have a ledger, but I just let it be done automatically, which I still have to pay attention to it, see. It's still important to notice it and to pay attention and to be aware of it. But if you look at it and you think about it and you look and say, oh, I don't have, is that true? Even if it's 1 cent, you have. But if you have a consciousness that says, I don't have, that 1 cent will soon be zero, because you're creating an energy of I don't have. And if you're holding that energy of I don't have, that's what you're putting your energy toward. And so our work is to shift our consciousness and our energy to holding an energy of what it is that we truly desire and what is the truth of our nature. Does that make sense? If you're dealing with a health situation,
Oh, I'm sorry, I thought it
that's all right, it's God calling.
It's pretty.
Ask her what she has to say.
What's she doing calling here?
If we're dealing with a health situation and our focus is primarily on that, and we're talking, our words are, I don't feel good, I'm sick, there are times when if you're going to someone who's there to help heal you, certainly it's okay to say that. But if you find that that's going on in your mind over and over again, guess what? You're actually feeding that in your body, because your body listens to that. Your body listens to the words that you're saying. Your body listens to the thoughts that you're holding. And it'll actually help you to validate some of that way of thinking and some of that way of seeing. And so if you really want to experience more life and health in your body, you want to experience more of that, then you affirm, I am choosing health. And you can say, I am healthy. Now, here's the thing. You may say, well, wait a minute, that's not true because I have this or that. Well, those are not the reality. Those are just the circumstances. Those are just the current experience. And so you want to hold an energy and awareness of wholeness and health in your thoughts and in your feelings and your words and your mind, because that's what you're going to help shape and form even more of. And it'll give you insight and awareness and guidance about how you can bring that into manifestation in the next experience, in the next moment, in the next time. And that may mean finding other ways of expressing that health. Maybe it's through activity, or maybe it's through how you eat, or maybe it's just more of how you think positively. Maybe it's surrounding yourself with those that are supporting you in being healthy. You get all kinds of awarenesses and insights about how that can be manifest in your life. And so there's a great power in our statements of release. One of the things I learned years ago was from, isn't that interesting? My train of thought just wrecked. Say it again.
Did that happen?
It happens, yeah. I have to watch my words, though, don't I? My train of thought is now back on track. The Silva method. There it was. Thank you. Silva method. I was working with some of the Silva methods. Any of you familiar with the Silva method? It's another way of mind training. It's a way of training your mind for a positive, creative power. And one of the things I learned from them years ago is that when I find that I'm thinking a thought that I don't want to continue in my life, then I say a very powerful word of release. And it's called cancel. And you say it a couple times. Cancel. Cancel, cancel. Cancel that thought. I cancel. Nope, that's not the truth. I don't accept that. I'm not willing to accept that as true. That is not the truth of me. That's not the truth of the situation. That's not the truth of life. It's not the truth of who I am. Cancel. It's a great power, right? So I want you to think of something that you have been thinking that you don't want in your life. Can you think of anything?
Yes.
Now think about what your thoughts are about that. Is that what you want to continue to create in your life?
No.
Cancel.
Cancel.
Say it.
Cancel.
Cancel. That is not true. Now, it is not true. What do you want to have in your life? So if you think that there's lack, you don't want to create more lack. Well, I don't want to have this lack in my life. That's a great affirmation, isn't it? I'm not going to have any more lack in my life. How well do you think that's going to work? That worked real well. I am living a life of abundance. You want to say that one? I am living a life of abundance. Just say it again. I am living a life of abundance. I am truly choosing a life of abundance. Say it. I am truly choosing a life of abundance. I am abundant.
I am abundant.
And that's the truth of who I am.
And that's the truth of who I am.
That's the reality.
That's the reality.
You know, my words are not making it true. You realize that? My words are stating the truth. Affirmations are not so that we can make something true. Affirmations are stating the truth so that we can live into it. You follow me? The same way with denial. Denial doesn't make when you say a release statement, you're not saying something that is somehow changing the circumstance of what is. What you're changing is your energy and your consciousness that you're focusing into and creating. Does that make sense? So this is our tools, our gifts of both creation and elimination. You talk about our 12 powers. One of our great powers is elimination. Where do you think we would be without the power of elimination?
Covered up.
And full of it.
Yeah.
So if you don't want your life to be covered up and full of it, it's important to use that tool, that gift of releasing what's no longer serving, releasing those things that are not what you want to continue to have in your life, and tuning into a positive statement of what you choose. It's not a complicated thing, really, if you think about it. It's not always easy sometimes because we get really in tune with our patterns. But that's the purpose of this, is to break our patterns. So that's our homework for the week, to really focus in on how am I working with my words to change the energy that I'm using in my creative power, my creative process, to create this next moment, to create this day. And so I'd encourage you to get up in the morning and wake up in the morning and notice what you're thinking when first thing in the morning. If what you're thinking first thing in the morning is not what you want to have continue through your day, hit the pause button. A little technique called freeze frame. Just like you're watching a DVD and you just go pause and you hold it for a second. Okay, that's what I've been thinking. That's not what I want. That has no power over me. I'm choosing to change this way of thinking. This is what I am going to focus on today, and this is what I'm going to help create today. This is what's going to go on in my life. And I'm going to have a day that's filled with love and care and compassion and joy and peace and excitement and enthusiasm. And I can't wait to experience the adventures that are going to happen for me today. Will you do that with me this week?
Yes.
Fantastic. All right, let's move into our meditation time. Breathing into and through the heart space. Take a moment now to move into that place of stillness, silence, peace. Being open and receptive to the wisdom, the inspiration, and guidance of Spirit. And just notice the thoughts that arise from deep within. And if there are thoughts that are not reflective of the abundance of God, of the universe, thoughts that are of anxiety or fear or lack or limitation, just notice those thoughts and just say to them, thank you for sharing. But that's not the truth of me. And you have no power in my life. I release you. I let you go. And I choose to know and feel the abundance that I am. And that God is in and through me. And if there are thoughts that are expressing some anxiety or fear about health or wholeness, just notice them. Acknowledge this is what is. but it's not the truth. I am one with all the life that God is, all the health, the wholeness, the peace. And every cell of my body reflects that wholeness. And I choose life, health, wholeness, and peace, and order. I allow the words of my mouth and the meditations of my heart to be in alignment with the presence of God. And I choose to speak words of truth, of love, of life, of peace. And when other words come into my awareness, I notice them, and I release them into the light of Spirit. And see them transformed, and feel them transformed. And in the act and in the process, I'm moving through my own transformation into the light and life that the divine has in store for me. And this is the truth. And this is what I open myself to. Thank you, Blessed Spirit. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Take a nice deep breath now. Let that feeling and that energy of light and love and life fill your heart. Take another nice deep breath. See and know and feel the amazing possibilities that you are creating right now by focusing on the love and the light and spirit that's moving in and through you. And take another nice deep breath, and when you're ready, gently open your eyes. Be present here and now, and give thanks. We at Unity in the Heart of Austin are committed to inspiring people to awaken to their unique divine nature through spiritual teachings, through heart-to-heart connections, through prayer, and through sacred service. And we provide tools, spiritual tools, that allow you to live your best possible life. I'm Reverend Tony Roebuck, minister at Unity in the Heart of Austin, and I truly hope that you are inspired by and that you are transformed by, you enjoy this week's spiritual message. And if you would like to leave a donation, a tithe, to help the work of this ministry in supporting you and others like you, then we are truly grateful for your generosity and for helping to make the world a better place. Because we know that life is meant to be good.